Thanks for joining Black Gay Table Talk.
I'm Dorian.
And I'm Keenan. Join us as we take you on a journey of discussion from two Black gay male perspectives. You'll join us on various life, social, and cultural discussions that are just as versatile as you'd like them to be. Get ready for authentic, heartfelt, raunchy, thought-provoking, and relatable shows that will make you happy to have us join you as a part of your podcast family. Again, thanks for joining Black Gay Table Talk.
Let's get to talking.
Thanks for joining today's episode of Black Gay Table Talk. I'm Keenan.
And I'm Dorian. Let's talk about aging in the Black gay community.
Got it. Aging. Oh, that one thing that none of us can stop, right? Everybody tries to stop or slow it down.
No one has figured it out to date. It has not been figured out. I'm going to ask you a real quick question before we get deep into our conversation. I know you're younger than I am. And just for the listeners, I'm not ashamed to admit I'm 57.
I keep forgetting you're 57.
At the current age that you are, if you could stop at any age prior to the age you are right now, what age do you think you would have stopped at?
Damn, that's a deep question. I would have to say, I'd say 30.
30?
I would say 30. What about you?
Was it for me, but I definitely would tell you it would have been between 32 and 36. Somewhere in there.
Okay.
Those years were they were just really great. I still today reflect back on those years.
Mm-hmm. What made them great? Like, why would you want to just stop it there?
Both of my grandmothers were still alive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I had no care in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I had the world's greatest job at that time. Socially, I think I was at my peak. I was comfortable with myself. I knew who I was by that time. I had come to a conclusion of who I was, and I was no longer out there trying to please others or trying to create an image that I thought would attract others.
Ooh, okay.
So now let's fast forward to my current age. I am very secure at where I am now. I'm totally secure. But if I could have stopped that clock and stayed at a particular age, I don't know that I would. Now where I am, I don't know that I would want to have stayed there. I would have stayed there a little longer.
Got it. I love that it wasn't just all physical, right? So a lot of times when you ask people, well, what age would you want to stop at? They think, okay, my body, when was my body the best? Or when was I at my in prime health? You know what I'm saying? Like, I rarely heard people tie stopping that aging process back to where they were. You know what I'm saying? In life. Not to say that they don't. I'm sure a lot of people do, but I love that it wasn't just all vanity.
No, because it was
you
more,
to select.
It's more to me than looks and the physicality of my being.
Mm-hmm.
Emotionally, I was in a different place.
Mm-hmm.
Spiritually, I was in a different place. Mentally, I was in a different place.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes all of that to build,
right,
and create a person. And I embrace all of that. I'm, like I said, fast forward to today. I'm probably each stage. I think you'll learn as you age, and we can come back to this as you age. But I think each generation or each year, you recognize how much more you are than what people probably perceive of you. It takes more. It takes more of that to make you.
I would have to say, I think what drives me to say, okay, let's stop at 30. Definitely. Well, you know what? I have to be honest. I was like, at 30, I, in my head, I had everything together. I was learning physically. That's when I was my best. So I'm one of those ones that brought up physical. I still had, that body that I was used to always having. So I think for me, yes, like all those other things were there, and that's fine. But I want to go back to when I was, in tip top shape, or not to say that I'm not now, but it was easier to maintain the health, I guess, at that
Less
age.
work.
Yeah, less work. Yeah. And now I'm at that point to where I'm like, damn, everybody said, this was gonna happen, or when you get older, this, and damn, they were telling the truth. But
That's aging. I think for my age, I'm still physically in good shape. So I'm really pleased. I look at some of my, I'm going to say people that I went to high school and grammar school with, and some of them are not physically in the same condition that I am in. And it's not for the greatest. I know I'm not at the optimal peak of where I should be, but I know I'm so far high on that spectrum compared to where I could be all the way at the bottom.
and let me just say for our listeners, I'm in good health. I'm not about to fall over or anything like that. It's just that I'm realizing getting older, it does take more work. So let me ask you this then. Are there now aging as a human being is one thing, right? So
Okay.
aging as a black gay man in the gay community, the black gay community, what do you see that experience being like? Whether it's personal, that's happening to you, or that you see in the community when you look around?
When I look around, I see, and I'm speaking on the male perspective. I'm sure the women go through something very similar. But speaking on the male perspective, I see not all, but I see a majority of older guys not willing to accept the aging process and trying to hold on. Rather, it's through their dressing
Mm-hmm.
or them getting hair implants and constantly dyeing the gray out of their beards. And yes, I will occasionally dye mine too because I'm
Mm-hmm.
so dark. And with
Mm-hmm.
the white beard, it almost makes me look like Santa Claus. So a lot of times I
Come here,
will,
Santa.
right, I will throw some dye in there just to tone it down for me because I
Mm-hmm.
don't like the bright white totally over my face. It looks good. I get compliments and I'm not embarrassed to wear it. It's just that sometimes I will just like okay, tone it down, just take it
Mm-hmm.
down a notch, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
But I embrace it. But I think that's the biggest thing that I see in my with a lot of my peers, the fact that they're trying to do something to hold on to that youth as opposed to embracing it. But on the same spectrum, I have a couple of friends that have embraced their age. They don't even think nothing of it. It's this is who I am, this is how old I am, and this is
Mm-hmm.
where I am in life.
I
Now,
love to see that.
now let me tell you something, I don't know the numbers to be. This is just something I'm thinking out loud as I'm talking to you. Those two or three friends I have, they have been in relationships for quite a while. The other ones
Mm,
are no longer in relationships, and
got
it
it.
goes to wanting to be appealing that someone
Too.
would take the time to possibly want to get interested in them. So I say that to show that the ones
That
that are
makes
in
sense.
relationships, they are really healthy and comfortable. But the ones who are out there looking to hopefully still find a significant other, they
Mm-hmm.
tend to be a lot more into the doing whatever it takes to hang on to their youth.
Interesting. And the funny thing is, well, so going back, I love to see older guys embrace that aging. You know what I'm saying? I don't want
Mm-hmm.
me personally, if you're older and you have your pants sagging down, or you have the grill in your mouth, or whatever that looks like, it does kind of throw you
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, oh, okay, because it's almost like it doesn't fit. It's like
Yeah.
sometimes you can see the effort. That's what I'll say. Sometimes you can see the effort. I've generally been into older guys, and I've seen to whereas the aging process sometimes can be taken for granted when in actuality, when I say taken for granted, meaning you don't see the younger generations often appreciate those that are older and make that connection to what that older person might have had to endure or witness in their time, or even what actions they've taken to help you live a freer life. You know what I'm saying? Or help
Right.
you have that safe space for you to be who you are. And I often go to those places where I see a mix happening, right? A intermingling of the
Mm-hmm.
young and older crowds. I don't like when they're separated, although interests I know can be vastly different, but I like to frequent those establishments where you see that mixture because I think there has to be balance.
I appreciate the mixture. Unlike you, when I was in my 20s and 30s, I was never interested in an older guy,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not interested in a younger guy either. I have always been that guy that wanted someone that was in my neighborhood of age. I said if you were younger than 15 years or younger than me, I definitely didn't want you because I don't want you going home to talk to my brother about Thundercats and Transformers and
Oh.
Teletubbies. You know,
Uh-oh. I almost fell over.
if you can talk about that, I know about it because of my younger siblings.
Yeah.
But if that's your age group at that time, it's like nah. But also, I don't want to take you home and you talking about when you went to the movie theater to see Look Who's Coming to Dinner with my parents either. So
Got it.
I
Yeah.
always wanted someone that was in my neighborhood that we had a lot in common. Our music were still the same. You know, if I put on something and you tell me, "Ooh, who is that? I ain't never heard that song," that means you're probably too young for me.
Yeah.
And then if I put that, it was like, ooh, yeah, I was out of college and I was on my fourth job. My oldest child was born by that time. I'm like, well, damn, you as old as my parent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
I've definitely, yeah. I think the reason why I opted for older or associated myself with older is because I saw a lot of what I knew I wanted in my future. You know what I'm saying? I saw
okay,
the stable mindedness. I saw the attention to presentation, how you present yourself. I saw the hard work, the crisp work ethic, you know. So I kind of mirrored or worked to mirror what I saw because I don't know, just for me, and it was appealing. And I get that there are things, different things that appeal to different people. But for me, it was that. Here's what's interesting though. During the time that I was dating and coming into 16, 17, 18, those that were around me were into older guys too. But you would think that you saw the young people playing games or the young people cheating or the young people doing XYZ. No, it was the old heads. They were the ones out there cheating and manipulating and playing games. And you had the young ones being essentially the rug. I don't know.
well, I've said this in other podcasts that we have spoken of. To each their own. I was just never into older or younger.
Mm-hmm,
I really
mm-hmm,
appreciate someone that I could share, that we can share growing up similarities
mm-hmm. So,
versus
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
someone that's really young and you ask them a simple question. And I know this is just a far fetched analogy, but someone you say, oh, how do you like Luther Vandross? You know, and they like, who? What are you
Mm-hmm.
talking about? You know, who is he?
Mm-mm.
You know, and I know someone in your age group actually knows Luther. You know, I know my brothers and sisters, they all know who they are, but they only heard it via me and my mother,
Mhm,
my
mhm,
parents. You
mhm,
know, they were Keith Sweat. Yeah, they know Keith Sweat and they kind of grew up on Keith Sweat, but they were still young. They weren't a buying of CDs at that age, you know.
mhm.
They heard it sitting in the car with us traveling somewhere, or you know, me running around the house singing it in my cassette player. They were
So,
of a different generation.
so do you think it's harder dating the older that you get?
It is much more challenging because by the time you get to this stage of life, hey, I'm a good example. I'm not in the club. I don't go to the club. If I go to the club, it's because somebody has come to town and want to go out and just don't want to be in the house. But I'm
Hmm.
at a stage now, the majority of me and my friends will go to each other's houses as opposed to trying to be in the club all night
Hmm. Hmm.
uh, and
So,
socialize.
well, the clubs is one piece, right? But like, what about the apps or the dating services, or where does the difficulty come in at with dating?
I'm not into the apps. I am opposed to meeting someone via an app and then wanting to bring them over to my house immediately.
Hmm.
I know that's what people on the apps and talking about, oh, I found this guy, I'm gonna go by his place. Too much is going on in this world. Too many catfishing, too many setups. I am just very leery of that. I want to meet you the old fashioned way. If I'm at a house party and someone comes in and I want to bump into you in the grocery store. I want to
Oh.
bump into you in church,
Hmm.
meet you at church. I mean, when I
Is
first moved to Atlanta, I think I told you the story if you remember. I was one day just washing my car at a car wash
Yeah,
and met someone. I'm
yeah.
okay with that type of meeting versus me being on the app and then you come over here. You might not kill me, but then 4 weeks later, my house mysteriously gets broken into.
There are certain things you have to be aware of, but just as easily you could, meet on the app
Mutual
and
terms, I
or
know you can.
yeah, and make it a public place. But I guess, well, actually, me meeting my husband, we met, we met at work. So
That's another place.
we met at work. Do you think that enough attention is given to that aging black male in the black gay community? Not necessarily saying, oh, you want someone to pay homage to you as you age, right? Or that there has to be a celebration just for you, but is there enough attention given to the aging population within that community?
Let me say, at this age, I have never ran into any, I would call it blatant disrespect. Some of the young guys, they look at you and in my case, they'll say, oh my God, I didn't think you were that old. And I don't take that to be offensive. They're like, you look really good to be, I hope to look halfway your age when I get there. But I also attribute that to my lifestyle that I chose to live when I was younger. I wasn't out there smoking weed every 3 hours. I wasn't out
Mm-hmm.
there drinking all times of the night, going to bed every single night, drunk and high and
Mm-hmm.
dehydrated. I was already into self care, eating properly, keeping myself hydrated internally and externally. So I think I did a lot of things to help preserve me. So therefore, a lot of times when I do meet people and I do share my real age with them, I get the wow. No, you're not. You can't be.
So let me ask you, in where you live now, do you see like singles events for men over 50? Do you see speed dating for, I mean, do you see
I have to be
attention given?
honest. I don't see them because I don't seek them out.
Got it. Now, granted, you may not seek them out, right? But what about those that are looking, right? So I know you said, there's still majesty in meeting someone at the grocery store or meeting someone at school or at work or whatever that looks like. But what about those who don't see that happening? Or let's just be real, there's still a stigma around being gay in public in certain communities, in certain areas. So that in itself could play a part too, because you may have those people who are just simply still afraid to speak to someone in public or afraid to have that moment in public where you connect.
Well, speaking for myself, I think when you get a certain age, you begin to second guess yourself. Not that you've lost your confidence, it's just that you realize that the person that you're talking to is probably going to be younger than you.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I know when I was in my 20s and 30s, I definitely was not interested in dating anybody on the long term that was drastically older than me.
Mm-hmm.
And my analogy for not wanting, because I have a couple of friends like, oh yeah, I definitely want somebody young. And my thing is, I know that I'm not going to want to do every single thing that a young person is want to do. I know I don't want to go to the club and close every club every weekend. I know I don't want to go to every Memorial Day going to DC or Miami Sizzle or going to Atlanta come Labor Day. I
Mm-hmm.
know those I have done that, but I don't want to also stop that younger person from doing that if they desire to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Go out, enjoy your life. But I want someone that I can share some similarities with and travel with that enjoy the same things that I do. And not that a 20-year-older can't or an 80-year-older can't. I just prefer to have someone that's closer in my age to do it with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Understandable. And I know you and I have had a good conversation about this. It would be a whole different topic on, relationships, I think. There is that side where you're like, you know what? I don't want to stifle this person from being able to experience life and do those things that they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
However, there does need to be a balance because that person knows what they want. And although he's young, he may not want to go to Sizzle or he may not want to go to the club you know what I'm saying? He may
I
want
absolutely agree with that.
to be at home with his man in front of the TV,
And here's the
So,
thing. I agree with that. And I think if I was to meet someone who was persistent and who had articulated it just the way you did,
mhm,
I wouldn't tell you that I wouldn't be open for having a conversation about longevity with them.
mhm, mhm.
But the reality to it is a lot of younger guys are not going to necessarily articulate it the way you did and say,
No, I
hey,
can see that.
that's not what I want. They're just going to say, well, I want to be with you, or that, no, this is what I want. But sometimes you have to speak some things into existence.
Mhm,
And if you don't speak it into existence, it's not going to work. Because I,
mhm,
like you say, I come in with my preconceived notion that you're still going to want to party. You're still going to want to do what 28-year-olders do. And
mhm.
that's have fun.
Let me ask you something. Do you feel that there's pressure on older black gay men to show up looking younger or to show up enjoying the younger things or the things that they assume younger people enjoy more? Is there a pressure?
Let me speak for myself. There's absolutely none for me.
Well, we know there's none for you.
I'm not ready to say that there is pressure. I don't know.
And you have older single friends, right?
I do.
Do you see any of them, and of course we're not calling out any names, but do you see any of them where you say, you know what, he's chasing something that he doesn't have to chase?
I'm going to go 50-50 with that because I think about my close friends that are in the neighborhood of my age.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple that be like, I am cool at where I am right now. And then I have a couple of that's like, okay, I got to go do this. And I'm not going to call. Yes. So I see both sides now that you make me sit and just really think. And I start thinking about individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have, a couple that they want to be involved in the latest and greatest stuff. And some of the stuff they listen to, I'm like, you're not too old to enjoy music because music is universal. But you up here darn near 60 years old and you can recite every word from Little Baby newest song. And it's like, oh, okay, who does that? But to each their own. I'm not in the place to judge him for that.
Right. Not judging, but I'll say this. I can definitely see that there sometimes is that pressure, right? Because when you look at different marketing pieces that go out or go around, or when you look at groups that are formed, or you look at different outreach programs, a lot of times they are catered to the younger crowds. Or if there's an event like sizzle going on, or most of these events are, if you look at it, they're marketed toward that group. Now, it could just be me and what I'm choosing to see, but I do think that there is a bit of pressure when it comes to aging to make sure that you're still relevant and that you
Okay.
can still hang and that you can still pull the boys or that you can still look good. You know what I'm saying? I do think
Okay.
that there is that pressure. And I think that it really shouldn't be, because I know I'm not alone, right? I can appreciate seeing a black man age, a black gay man age into whomever he is or whomever he's going to be without those pressures. It's authentic, and it's, I don't know, there's just something that's filling when you get to witness it. I don't know. Let me get off my horse.
No, and I understand what you're saying. So watching a black gay man age versus watching a black heterosexual man age, I think the numbers have already proven it. Gay men are a little bit more detail oriented, and therefore they tend to take care of themselves a lot better. A heterosexual man, and I know quite a few heterosexual men that take very good care of themselves, but I'm
Right,
talking on
right.
the large scale number. I
Mm-hmm,
think you're going to find that a gay man is going to take care of himself a lot
mm-hmm.
better than a heterosexual man.
Why do you think that is?
I personally, I just think as a gay man, you have always wanted to make yourself look attractive, even from the younger age. So you have already instilled in routines that are going to help you preserve yourself.
Mm-hmm. So I can see that. I can see I can see on the gay side of it, whereas you might have more of those, that fear is lessened in going to the doctor. That fear is lessened wanting to make sure that you're giving attention to your hands and your toes, or that you go and find out what this is, or, you know, that self-preservation. And there is a vanity piece to it sometimes, I think, but I think that's because the community as a whole is more driven by vanity sometimes. But good discussion.
Yeah,
I'm
I think
curious
that
to
was
see
a
what our
good one.
listeners think.
Yeah, I would love to hear that feedback.
Thank you for joining us for today's episode. We hope you enjoyed. Again, if you'd like to subscribe, donate, and of course, any ratings we definitely appreciate. Again, thanks for listening to Black Gay Table Talk.